Good evening, folks. It's Poms from Pallatrax with my latest Sunday slot live feed. I hope this is working. I always start off my live feeds with everything crossed because living in deepest North Devon sometimes doesn't work at all. So hopefully a few people will pop in. So I'll just bob along. Wait to see if little icons appear. There's some people showing up now. So yeah, Richard Ward, how you doing, mate? Good to see you this evening. So it looks like it's working. How long will it last is another question altogether. So if you can, yeah. So James, how you doing, James? Aaron, so messages are coming through. So great to see you, folks. Hope everything is well in the big wide world for everybody. And you've been catching lots of fish this weekend. Weather's all over the place, isn't it? But we're certainly getting loads of catch reports coming in from literally all over the world. Sue Graham, well, she is the conquering heroine, having caught 25 fish from Ben's pool this weekend down at Ashmansworthy Pools. She smashed it on the system. Ashley Ward, and good evening to you, Steve Thompson, Tim Pittham. See, we are here, Tim, just on the other side. So a few people have popped in now. So what I'll do is I'll announce first of all. Hopefully I get this right. I tend to get it wrong frequently. But every Sunday slot live feed, and we have one here on the main Pallatrax page, or I have one here, sometimes with a guest, sometimes it's just with me. And then on the other Sunday, we have it on the Team Pallatrax page. If anybody's interested in joining Team Pallatrax, it's a free initiative. It's all about celebrating fishing, helping each other, fishing, sharing top tips, all this kind of stuff. So just go onto our website. Hi Matthew, good to see you here. Go onto the Pallatrax, www.co.uk. Hi Paul, how you doing, mate? Good to see you here. And yeah, you can just fill in the application form and whiz it off, and it's a great initiative. Discounts, free competitions, all kinds of things happening in that page. So if you're interested. So tonight, and let's say every feed, I have a little raffle. Hi Colin, how you doing? Mike. So tonight, our friends at Solar, we've got a hair gauge, we've got some size 6 of the wonderful Kershack groups. Luke, Stephen, how you doing? Straight point grips, Wygate grips and size 10, great for surface fishing. Hi Kenny, how you doing? And some of that serious end it is, serious shrink. I don't get my stuff from the normal places. If I can't make it myself, I look outside of the industry and find things that I believe are better by performance. So all you got to do if you want to win this little bundle, hi Adam, is good stuff, Kenny, is go to send a message. Anybody can help me here. Craig, how you doing? So just say yes and send a message direct to Pallatrax Facebook page. There's a message thingy. As you can see, I'm not very articulate when it comes to anything technical. But yeah, all you got to do to be in with a chance of winning that is just send yes through to the Pallatrax main page. So hopefully that's working. How you doing, Liz? Not long now. The main Pallatrax page. So Reenie, how you doing, Reenie? Seen Reenie down here this week. So somebody's crying. Why have we got a crying icon? Neil Oliver. Good to see you, matey. How's it up north? Is it spring yet? Tell you what, it's not spring down here. It's still miserable. Looking forward. This is your first live feed. Well, welcome, Stephen. Ask any questions. Tonight's going to be, I think, a really good one. Steve Thompson, yes. I think you've got to know, it's around my Pallatrax follow web, and I'll have to move on to some cooler. I have to say, when you compare them like Pallatrax is far superior. Thanks, Stephen. We, like I say, it's been my mission to put performance over profit. So there's lots of places you can source things out there. I'd like to think if I can't get it, I source it from the best. So whether it's the Gamma fishing lines, because they're the only irradiated lines, all the way through to making the bait at the other end, which we obviously make ourselves, the stones, the rigs, and all that kind of stuff. So what am I going to do this evening is, it's honestly, I think we have conversations on the team page frequently about it. This is just my opinion. But where have I started with hair rigs? Hi Jack, how you doing, mate? Catching some nice fish on floating bread, I see, as usual. Great skills, mate. The hair rig. The hair rig's a trap to me. And you have to find consistency in the trap. Now, the one thing that confuses me, and I've owned 2 tackle shops, is the amount of jingly jangly bits people are persuaded to buy in regards to rigs. And should they be that complicated? Should they be that inconsistent? You don't see any of this inconsistency with the rig in any other areas of fishing I've done, whether it's bait fishing, whether it's sea fishing, whether it's fly fishing, whether it's lure fishing. Send yes to the Pallatrax main page via Messenger. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so that hopefully will clear that up, because it's always a confusing one. So when I had my first set of lakes, Paddington Lakes down in Dorset, back in those days, and it's a shame, I enjoyed the magazine called Carp Talk, and it was the only, hi Gary, it was the only weekly carp magazine. Was with Grabber as well, but need more grips, so get on the grips, you know they're special. Is this price giveaway? This competition, Robin, this is a free giveaway. You just send yes through to the main page, and we choose at the end of the day from a random choice from the answers given. So you only got to say yes, so it's not an answer. So it is free. Where's the clock? It's behind the wall. Everybody kept taking the mickey out of my clock. It'll be back next week, I assure you, Neil. I know you feel for it. Anyway, you're making me rabbit away. Back to the question thing. So the first thing I did within my own fishing, obviously, and seeing all the people coming through the gates of Paddington, was seeing which were the most successful anglers, who caught consistently. And there's a lot of variables going on there, especially around bait. You know, there's millions, like I say, not billions. Sorry, I find it hard to find the live feed. Anybody can help Robin there, that would be cool. So that was the first thing. I was watching anglers and learning off other anglers. That was a key part of my watercraft, in all honesty. You know, learn from people who are really performing, catching every week. Not the odd one fish or the big fish, consistently catching. Met a guy, Baldy Dave Beckley. Hi Mark. He started fishing, and I started watching. And this guy was just hammering the fish every time. You know, he'd come for short sessions, and so I got to fish with Dave. He actually worked for me for a little while at one stage, and he was a really, really top of his game carp angler. How he was presented, how he fished, bite detection, all the kind of things. And we started working together and developing things. So looking at his rigs, and back in those days he was using, and we all used it, was the snake bite from Christen, a good product. But if you go back before that, you had stiff booms with like Amnesia and the Albright knot with braid. So you had this kind of stiff to supple. And that to me was the key. And then I started really focusing on the catch reports in Carp Talk every week. You know, to tell you the baits, where they were caught from, and that again proved most people get caught, both fish get caught on the rod tips. But also it was always these what we call combi rigs. So it's the stiffness to the supple. So I went out and basically searched around. I was looking for not what was just, you know, rebadged, you know, coming from a factory and rebadged with my name. I wanted something that did a specific job and did it really, really well. And that was to have, yes, Les, there's a few to be caught down here, mate. They're getting really big. So basically, I came up with this concept and put it out and found this material, which is basically Steam Link. Now, I'm not here to try and flog anything to anybody. I and the team members I'd like to think will especially know now that basically I develop stuff for my own, and that's not an arrogance. That's just, you know, I'm in an industry. I've got an inquisitive, you know, question everything, assume nothing kind of attitude. And I source this, it's from Europe, it's got nothing to do with fishing tackle. And when it comes off the spool, and I call it the ugly ducklings. You look, it just looks so insignificant. But there's two key points to this. One is, it's the inner core is Dyneema. Now Dyneema is the finest material, but strongest material by diameter on the planet, apparently. And that Dyneema is actually a product name. It's not a brand name. So it's actually, this is the core of that's Dyneema. So it's very, very supple, very thin, but huge breaking strain for diameter. Look, yes, Richie Spracklin, we were there, mate, you know, back in the old days, and look at the fish you're catching. And don't forget, sorry, I'm digressing, folks, here, but Richie Spracklin, don't forget, Dave was the man that developed Crave alongside me, and, you know, so, yeah, good angler, brilliant angler, to be quite honest. So what this does and what this creates is this rig. And this is the rig I'll be showing you this evening, because this is my setup. most will know I fish obviously the stones because it's just the stone part of nature's background chatter, small bead, gamma mainline, up to the LQ rig, as we call it. And it's named the LQ rig because it's worked so successfully at Le Quay. It kind of stuck. Le Quay is a fantastic fishery out in France. If you ever get a chance, it's really one to go. Great facilities. Bob, good mate of mine, runs it. And this rig kind of came into its own over there, but we were obviously fishing it for donkey's years, ever since I developed it. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make it. Hi, John. How you doing? Now, obviously, team members here know that you've got no chance winning anything, Matthew Rice. Will know that you can get this on the team exclusive, the LQ rig. And all I'm saying is, for me, I'm always there to learn. If there's a rig that, hi Robert, the rig that consistently will outperform it, I'm all over it. And if the situation on the day dictates, but if I'm fishing a bottom rig or a pop-up rig, I use this rig. Let's say, Sue, one of our team members, has been down here on one of the lakes at Ashmansbury Pools this week, and in 48, 36 hours, she had 25 fish out of a stock of 40 fish in one of the lakes. We don't know if any of them were recaptures. We haven't looked at all the photographs yet. But all I'm trying to say is that's great shout out for Sue, great fishing and things like that. But she fished the system as I've developed it with all the baits and things like that. But what it goes to prove is over that period of time, fish were picking up that rig. And it looks, with all the evidence we've had over the years, that it's consistent. It's more consistent. And we're just getting beeps. We're getting single beeps. We're hitting single beeps because the fish are hooked. We don't follow the modern narrative. We're not waiting for the rod to scream off and things like that. We're fishing very, very much differently. But all I can say is, like I say, if somebody else can say to me, rig, Pom, this is a better rig, I'll be all ears, because as I say, we won't move forward in fishing unless we listen, we learn. I don't listen to slip marketing personally, and hopefully you'll see I'm not into slip marketing. The choice is yours. All I can say is the fish we've caught, which number into thousands and thousands of fish on this rig, prove something, and prove how versatile it is and how it just works all the time. You can put it in a. Somebody said to me the other day, "I don't go in a PVA bag," and it's like, well, of course it will. Of course it'll go in a PVA bag. But obviously I tend to fish the method wrapped round the stone. People fish it with, a PVA bag on the end, tea bag. You can fish it single bait, single pop-up, whatever you want to do. It's so effective and it covers variables, so it's nigh on impossible to tangle. It's also, it resets. There's no doubt, it will be picked up and the fish will spit it out. There's not a rig that will work every time, I promise you. But what I do promise you is all of these kind of rigs and variations of the rig are taking away the consistency that you find in match anglers. Match anglers don't have a million rigs. What they do have is a lot of different baits to try on the circumstances. So that's where I am with my fishing. I have a selection of bait like the fly angler, the match angler, the lure angler, the sea angler. I like the carp angler, and I do this. I use this rig for my tench fishing, my bream fishing, my barbel fishing, because I can't beat it. It goes in the way it's designed with that suppleness to stiffness. It just so aggressively kind of hooks into the fish. Reenie's just saying at least 10 of the fish were caught on a single beep, and that's where I've been helping Sue and saying, just remember if your float goes under. It ain't going to go under very far before you're striking it, or it lifts up, and it's exactly the same. It's just line travelling through that roller, a lot of people are missing out. And certainly when you start fishing slack lines, you completely miss out. You don't get any bite detection. And we're catching a lot more fish because we've got this efficient rig. So this could all go pear-shaped. I will try my best to make this as much as possible. I'm going to turn my camera around. So if you do have any questions, do please feel free to stop me. So I'll show you the component parts. Don't forget, if you want to win that little goodie prize, you just got to say yes, send yes to Pallatrax page, the Pallatrax, not the Simon Pomeroy page, the actual Pallatrax page, all right, one we're on featuring here. So what do you need to make the world's best rig? What a statement, but I believe it, folks. I honestly, genuinely believe it. I'm not into all this competition and things like that. I genuinely want to help people catch more fish. That's our tagline. And I know this rig helps us catch a lot more fish in the majority of situations. But like I say, there's always going to be a degree of flexibility. But always only a Colin, how you doing? Colin's been smashing some fish out. That's an interesting story. I might go into you later. If you're there, Colin, pop up and just put a bit of a result, because Colin's had some right results. So what do we need? So I'm going to turn my camera around if I can find no worries, Dan, we're always here. Right, here we go. I think it's that button. I pressed the button once and I turned into a leprechaun. So right, let me get my, it's all going a bit wrong. I've got a fish tank here, so let me move the fish tank out the way, bring in a bit of more light on the... So, what do we need? Hi, Anton. I was starting to worry, mate, you not being here. So, what do we need to make this rig? All right. So, like I say, you all know, or you should know if you know me, I fish on the stone. So, here's my stone. Unless on a feeder fishing. Sorry, what was that then, Jack? You say you can't fish this on feeder fishing? You certainly can, mate, if you've used the £15 version. I use it for just everything because, like I say, if I just show you here, this is actually how set up. This is a pop-up. But let me try and get in here. Did you ever use any of the Christon products? Yes, exactly, Stephen. Those kind of things were very much learning curves when they came out. So what you've got is you've got this stiff boom to this very, very supple. It's incredibly... You have, Anton, but we haven't drawn the competition yet. So you just got to send yes to the Pallatrax page, not to my page. Oh, slack lines. No, you're so right there, Jack. So right, mate. I don't understand that at all. Hi, Natasha. Hey, was cooking dinner. I hope it's something nice and tasty. Evening, Simon. So, yes, so I'm looking for that stiffness. And so my thing, that is not a fish's mouth. And I'm all this stuff about dragging it over them. But what I'm looking for, I don't know if you can see, I'm looking for this to turn. So that to turn all the time. And the reason that does it is it's the wide gate with the intern beak, and then you've got this serious shrink kicker. And so I can remove that and have it as a bottom bait, or I can just put some of this non-toxic shot on there, and then I've got a pop-up rig. And devastatingly effective. And again, it's not, talky, speaky talk. It's just that we've caught thousands of fish on it. So, right, how do I make it? So let's see if Pom can make this under a bit of pressure. So all I need, so as I say, got a non-toxic shock if I want to, and this shot will counterbalance two of my 10 mils or one of my 14 mils. So I need some swivels, some serious shrink, some of the old grips. You've obviously got different grips patterns, but this is the one I favour, the size 6 wide gate. This is specifically, I'm now talking about carp fishing. If you saw the fish I had from Horseshoe last week, this was exactly the rig I've used. Well, all the fish I catch is on it, to be fair. Well, 99.9%. And obviously the piece de resistance, whoa, is the old Steam Link. Here we go. No piece with Pom. Here's what I made. Oh, yeah, exactly. You're right there, Mike. No, we got to wing and prayer. At least it's all realistic. So I did actually do a little bit of jiggery pokey earlier to try and make it easier for myself. So all I'm going to do, all I take is about 14 inches for this. I only fish a 5.5 inch rig in the majority of situations. I might change that length, but majority of times I'm pretty standard. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove about 7 inches of the outer coating. Now, I'm guessing this because I haven't got my... actually, tell you what, let's stand by, folks. Let me go and get it. I know where it is. Yes, one of our team members makes these lovely things for Team Pallatrax members. So it's a bit of a crib sheet for making rigs. So if you look on here, it says the LQ rigs size 8 and size 6. Now that size 6 is for the curved shank. So when I'm on a size, so it's obviously a lot longer shank. So when I'm on a size 6 normal, I just go to this piece here. So all I'm going to do is put one end up here. And then I'm going to draw that to there. And that's the section I'm going to now remove. So, and you can see it does, once you've broken the coating, it comes off very, very easy. But you can use one of those, who bought one? Gardner do a great little stripping tool. That, I'm making a bit of a mess here. Right, this is the bit, hi, Scouse Kelly, how you doing, mate? So, next stage. So I've removed that 7 inches of outer coating, yeah? So then the hair loop. So I'm just going to put that along there, and go up to that piece there. So from the bottom there to there, and then I'm going to fold that over. And I actually then wet that to hold it together. And then I'm just going to fold that over just to create a single overhand loop. And I'll tell you what, as I've got older, this has got more and more challenging. All I can see really there is a blur. So all that is obviously going to do is hold my boilie stop. So just with my OCD, this is where my OCD really comes into play well, folks, because everything's got to be perfect, and your rig needs to be perfect, like any trap. Could do with some decent babos, by the way. So next thing is the knotless knot. So you're always going to work through the back. If you don't know how to do this, is a really easy knot, and I will do some other stuff on this going forward. So you're going to put your steam link, your tag end through there, and you're just going to draw all the slack through, and then you're going to come up to this little section here. Obviously the hair length is something that's really down to you. I fish a very tight hair in the majority of situations. Other people fish a longer hair, but like I say, that's it. So if I'm using a size 6 hook, that is going to be the length. So I put the end of the boilie stop end onto that piece, and then the eye of the hook up to the little mark where it says 6. Then I'm going to trap that down. Now, always work around the back, never work around the front. You'll see where the join is. You never want that line going through there. You always want to work around the back, folks. Hi, Colin. What a fishing session you're having, mate, ever since you've... don't want to take anything away, Colin. You've done the angling, but it's great that you've put the products into practice. So now I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I say bunch the fibres. So get your nail and just squeeze it down. So you're going to keep everything really tight on the back of the shank. And then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So you're opposite. Let me see. There's always a challenge on this. So you're opposite the eye, opposite the point, and then you're going to come back through. Now I know, okay, that's actually too short because I need to make, this is a bit I really need to get through. So I'm just going to take that back one. So I'm going to have a longer piece of exposed Dyneema. Working through the back, you take your tag end and you pop that straight on back through. So what you've got now is you've got your knotless knot. You make sure that your hair loop is sitting on the back. Obviously you can see, I don't know, you can see the little grip screws there, but they are phenomenal. Then you've got this slack, all right, this exposed piece, and then you've got the stiffness. Now, what we'll next kind of do, I'm going to add a tiny piece of shrink. It's about 1/2 inch, this piece, if that. That's how sticky the grips are. So I'm going to feed that through. Now I'm going to check here, because I always check, because every rig has got to be spot on, like the match angler. So I know there, so I've got about 1 centimetre, hopefully you can see 1 centimetre between the end of the tubing, the shrink tubing, and the actual coated piece. So about 1 centimetre of exposed Dyneema. So happy that. Then about 1 inch of the serious shrink goes through there. Just stand by, folks, because what I'm going to do, because it's getting very close, let me turn my kettle on. Now, all I will say, because of health and safety, don't burn your pinkies, take good care, but you want to have a, oh, let me turn that down a bit. You do want to use a kettle with a small spout. Anyway, back to the business end. So I've fed on that first piece, then I've fed on that second piece. Now on these little boards, there's a little swivel there. You can put your eye of the hook in. Sorry, you put through the eye, the hook in there. And then, as you can see, you've got 4, 5, 4.5, 5, 6. You can obviously do it as long as you want, but I tend to stick for about 5.5 in the majority of situations. So now this piece is always going to, you know, does some people's heads in completely, to be fair, because all you have to do now is line up those two pieces like that, yeah, and then get your swivel. Now you can just, to be fair, before I go forward, you can just obviously tie that off and have it as a quick change. I don't use quick change, I use the swivel version. So I'm going to put my swivel, all fingers and thumbs, trying to make sure I'm just keeping in with the camera. So there we go. So I'm going to pull that down. So now, like I say, if all you need to do, whether this is a quick change knot or it's a knot I'm doing now, is a simple overhand loop. All right, that's all you need to do, a simple overhand loop. Feed it back through, and then just slowly pull down tight. And give that a good tight pull, tight pull, tight pull. And then again, like I say, you're making this trap, it's got to be so... I don't know whether you've been in touch with something about using the grips. What hook we recommend with the steam? I don't have anything. I'm not involved with wire side, to be quite honest, Stephen. But I don't know whether what their situation is up there. But I would definitely be on the size 6 wide gapes in the grips format, obviously. So there we go. That's all you need. And some people go, well, that's going to come undone. That's not a Tenkra Grinner or something. I promise you, with Steam Link, that will not come undone, because what happens, the dyneema is so fine it really crushes in. I don't know if anybody else is on here who can help Stephen with wire side, so I've never fished it. So now all I'm going to do is feed that piece of shrink tubing, tag end through there, and put it up to the swivel, covering the swivel. Okay. Now let me get this bit going, because this is going to be interesting how we're doing this. So let me get my stuff all out the way, and I'm going to bring in the kettle. And now, so what we're trying to achieve now is this kicker shape. All right, and this is what this actually does. Okay, it extends the wideness of the gape, so to speak, from the point to the shank to the point to the top of that. So the wider that is, the more you create a wider gape. It's just like, I know it's something you need to get your head around, I suppose, but that point from A to B goes from there to there now, so it's much no worries at all, Stephen. Just haven't been up there I've been there, but they don't stock Pallatrax, and I'm not too sure because I've never fished it. I know there's a lot of fish up there, mind. So yes, so the key thing is now, so I've measured everything off, is to create this. So what I'm going to do is try to lift my little gimbally thing up. Stand by, folks. There's my boiling kettle. So you don't want it to have this kettle on major boil. Right, let me go. Just like the BBC. So let's see if I can really get in on this, so you'll be able to see. But say having a spout like that is kind of crucial. Now you need to be careful. I do caution. I've done this loads of times. You might want a pair of pinchers, but what you're going to have is where's my shrink is half on the shank and halfway up. All right, and then you're going to literally let this natural. Oh, let me turn this around a bit, make life easier for me. So you'll see how quickly this shrinks. So you hold this part of it tight, and you're literally. This is not easy trying to do this on. I'm going to do this with carpology next month, and hopefully. So bang, you'll see how quick. So you see now I've created, I don't know if that came through very well. The next thing is you're going to put the whole hook link, so by using a baiting needle, just put it on the eye, then holding over the shrink. So you're going to just literally, I know this is not probably the best shot, and so I'm just going to pull this gently through the steam. And so that shrink tubing is something to behold. It really does shrink down. Obviously make sure not to hit the side of the kettle, it will burn through. And that's all I'm doing. And I have now made from an ugly piece of what looks like pretty miserable stuff, I've made this thing of beauty. And it's easy to use. And what you do, you can see how stiff that is to how supple. So it's almost like a little fishing rod, isn't it? So I can't keep this in focus. There you go, that's better. And so you've got incredible rotation. You don't have any of all the jingly jangly bits. And that rig is just simply amazing. So what I will do now because here is one I made earlier. So let me just move this all down again. I found dipping kettle works as well. Yeah, I've never been a fan of that, Simon. I know it does work. I used them from... I found... Where we go. Great job, Pom. Send it to me. Right. You send me your address, Robert. I will send you that rig. How's that? There you go. So that rig now is like really, you know, it's going to do everything I want. So now... As you can see, I've actually just pressed a piece of non-toxic shot on there, and this rig here is just a simple pop-up rig. This is exactly how I had that lovely mirror the other day at Horseshoe. Well, both those fish I had out at Horseshoe and the Tench. So I'm going to try and just lay this out. So hopefully, I don't know if you can see this. I'm actually going to take my camera off and so we can try and get in. There we go. So, you know, you can sit there all day long and we can talk about one thing and another, about rigs. Oh my Lord, I think I've pressed the wrong button here. Let me see if I can. So there you go, that's better. It's in focus now. So, and the beautiful thing is to this rig is it resets itself. It's really impossible to tangle. The hook sits up nicely when it's on a pop-up rig. You know, we could sit here all the time. We could talk about, oh, the hair's too long or what, and things like that. All I can say, folks, is that those lengths, so that stone, which obviously isn't there in the thing, has caught me, well, just stupid amounts of fish. And there's no arrogance. I hate any arrogance in fishing. I fish because I love it. I love helping people catch more fish. Hence, as I said earlier, the tagline. And to be honest, 2 10mm. I mean, Sue was using 10mm to great effect down here. You know, I use them all the time. But like I say, if you want to fish that as a bottom bait, you just remove, obviously, the pop-ups and put on a bottom bait of format of whatever you want, and take off the shot there, and then it's just the same as a bottom bait. So I swear by both of those. As you know, so you can see it's very unobtrusive. You know, it's very thin. I'm more concerned about what a fish senses, not what we see. And then obviously I've got my stone, my running stone, and that's it. And that, hopefully, has made some sense. Now, any questions? Because honestly, it is such an important thing. So Robert Knight, you send me your address or PM me, and I'll send you that. There you go, blessed. Kissed by Pom. Let's see, where was it? Hi Callum, Andy Pascoe, good fishing mate. I love the match hooks. Yeah, we're getting there, Ashley. Anti-tangle, I promise you. Yeah, exactly, that's one of the things, isn't it? You know, there's some things that we just don't... Oh, let me have a slurp of tea, it's getting cold. You know, sometimes you just don't realise, you know, that we cast out, we're in a tangle, or a fish picks it up and drops it in a tangle. This doesn't happen. I can promise you, it really, really doesn't. And there's loads of people on Team Pallatrax fishing it, and it's now starting to get out into the big wide world. That there's no gimmick, there's no hidden agenda. It's just a really, really good approach to it. There you go. And see, Colin's a prime example. I hope you don't mind me saying Colin, but Colin has recently got involved and kind of fully embraced the Pallatrax system. He's fishing a very, very difficult reservoir with not many old, you know, the reservoir, I believe there's 30 fish. Colin went over to the system, you know, with the grips and steam link, etc. last week, and having not had anything out for 9 months, suddenly last week, could have been a coincidence of 34. But we don't believe it is, because then this week he's had a 40 and a 46. So 3 of this small group of carp. Again, to me, it's amazing, because Colin's so made up. He's so excited, which is fantastic. But again, more proof that this tactics are designed to work, and they do work, and the proof's out there. If you can stand back a bit and not listen to all the narrative comes in from the trade, perhaps there is other ways to do it. Assume nothing, question everything, which is where I come from. And I honestly believe by stepping back and rethinking what we're doing, you can change the mix, focus on HMV baits, focus on a different hook design, focus on a different form of fishing weight. We are where we are, and we're catching lots of fish. Obviously, the industry isn't particularly happy because we're a disruptor, but we don't care. We're just doing it because we enjoy fishing. It's not about things like that. We don't want to fall out with people. We don't want grief or hassle. We just want to go out there and enjoy fishing the most we can. And to do that, I honestly believe, seeing Sue today, or talking to Colin or other people out in Lequy this week that are on the products, it's just amazing for me. It's just fantastic that people have had the faith in what we're doing, and it's now converting to a lot of people, whether it's in Canada or Thailand or everything in between, people using the products to great success as they've been designed. We design them, we innovate, we don't buy off the shelf. I can promise you that. That's for a fact. Where else? What else have I missed? Wafter okay to use? Yes, Robert, very much so. Sim Cleans really gives you confidence. Yeah, I mean, it is that confidence thing. I know, Colin, I'm out there fishing, and it really is. How do I get my Pallatrax rig board? They are via the team exclusive page, so they're available for team members, and I can just knock rigs out exactly the same, one after another. One of our team members, Matt, makes them. They're just amazing. They're bomb proof, to be quite honest. Can come and catch me some fish. Well, I want to go fishing. I'm gagging to it. Showed a past mail from Sally saying we could use them. Depends what something you're talking. Definitely not a coincidence. No, Colin, I think, and it'll be good when we catch up next. I think you're fully converted now, seeing it's a system. We fish a system, and every part of it's a link of a chain. If you fish something different within the system, you're not going to get the main benefits of fishing that system. And you certainly, as a good angler, you've gone out, you've put it into practice. And I think what you've done really, really humbling to me, I suppose, is the fact that you've had that leap of faith. I know you were struggling, you felt you were struggling, you were looking to make some changes, but to make that complete leap of faith to where we are, and then to suddenly see, you're catching is just kind of just further proof to what we're doing. And you're off to some really wary, difficult fish. And it's all a combination. I think, that stone is the biggest advantage, because everybody else will be fishing on a man-made, whether it's toxic lead or whether it's a method feed or whatever. We've suddenly removed the largest obtrusive piece, and then we're manipulating everything else from the HMV to a third hook design, which is just incredible, through to a product like Steam Link, again, exclusive to us, that just works. And I know it sounds like some big marketing spin. No, it's not. You don't have to buy into it at all. All I can say is, look, the proof's there. Go onto our Facebook pages, go onto our catch reports, see what we're doing. And for really, in truth, a small amount of anglers in the big scheme of things, we're catching a hell of a lot of fish. And we're not just focused on carp. We use all this stuff, whether we're barbel fishing or tench fishing or bream fishing. We bring it into our predator fishing. There's lots of things, but we're just on a totally different track than the modern narrative. And the reason is, in my humble opinion, and shoot me down in flames, I've got broad shoulders, but I just see there's a lot of flaws out there. When people are saying you're going to catch a lot of fish on a bait with no food content, for example, I just don't get it, and I'm not going to get involved with it. So hopefully more people come on board and enjoy the success, because that's the thing. We're not sitting here thinking. I might have who's that? Somebody's saying they're on a stumpy rig. Caught. Is that Andy? Andy, is that you? Yeah, well, you caught plenty of fish this weekend, haven't you, as well? How about doing this on a size 4 hook? You can ask, like I say, it's so versatile. I mean, I tend to fish the 25-pound Steam Link for my carp fishing, or big carp fishing. Most of the water I obviously fish tend to have bigger carp in, but when I go from a tench or smaller carp or bream or things like that, I'm coming down to the size, the 15-pound breaking strain, which is really, really thin, and then I'm using a 10 or a 12 on that. But 4 on 25 is amazing. And we've got a new Predator one just about to be launched, which is a 65-pound, which is what we've been field testing over in Thailand to get to great success. You got to look at people like Richie Spracklin, who was on here earlier. Look at the fish that Richie catches. Amazing results for the time he fishes. Fishes a difficult water, and he just bashes it, and he's on that rig. And like I say, I keep on. There's areas that I focused on in my fishing, and it's everything below the water. I'm really not worried about my bank stick. I've got solar bank sticks, they're lovely, they'll last forever kind of thing. But I'm really not worried about the stuff on the bank too much, as long as it works. what colour it is and things like that really don't bother me personally. But everything under the water, so I've got my gamma line, which is, like I say, that's actually tennis string, and I'll go into that one in great detail. And that's an interesting story about fishing line, because say the rumours and the old wives' tales put out there are just that. They're rumours, you know. It's a very interesting story about fishing line. So I've got the line I know is the best performing line in the world because it's scientifically proven. It's not marketed. I've gone out to America and sourced it. I've then, like I say, I use the stone because it's just completely revolutionised my fishing and the way I fish and the way I look at fish and things like that. And then I've got the Steam Link, which is so versatile and so efficient. I've got my grips, different hooks and different patterns and sizes. And then I really manipulate the baits. That's the key. So I'm very much fishing like a match angler. I'm fishing at the top products I can get. And the top tactics I can design or innovate, and then I'm really focusing on bait on the day. And obviously you then combine watercraft, you know, levels of fish. And so obviously if the fish are on the surface, I'm not going to be fishing on the deck. I'll be fishing at the top. You know, I might be fly fishing for carp on a piece of cork, flavour cork, or floating a bit of bread, or just fishing under the surface on a zig or whatever. But when I'm fishing these deck tactics, that's my go-to, and I just have complete faith that if I've got fish in front of them and I can get them to feed, or they are feeding, and they pick up that rig, it works time and time and time again. If they pick it up and I'm unfortunate and they spit it out, because they will so quickly when they realise it's wrong, at least I know it's going to reset and it's fishing as good as it was before. It's just the variables. You're going to get fish pick up and they're going to be lucky and we're going to be unlucky. That's just, but I want to be consistent. I want to be consistent. So where are we? I have confidence on it. Neil, he's got, you know, I mean, it is obviously, is it worth putting a small non-stick halfway up the rig? Why would I do that, Paul? Not for me. No, I say there's a lot of stuff out there. That rig, as I've shown you tonight, is my go-to rig. And like with 25 years in the trade and my own venues and fisheries and things that I've been doing, you know, it's not like I haven't tried, and I'm not saying you shouldn't experiment yourself, but I'm saying is if you converted over to that system, you would have the same kind of results that Sue has had down here this week. It's a system that works efficiently, and to get 25 fish in a stock of 40 in 24, 36 hours, I think is testimony not just to Sue's skills at angling and putting it in the right place and doing the right things, but the fact is that that rig works. And it's about having a trap. You need to get your heads around it. It's a trap. You know, you can't see what it's doing. So you can only proof of what it's doing is that consistently catching. And I do see, and again, don't shoot me down in flames because I'm trying to be nasty or critical, because I'm not. I'm just shocked at some of the rigs I see out there. They're not fish safe, and they certainly won't catch you consistently. And it's people copying something off YouTube by somebody who's copied. It's like Chinese whispers. By the time you get back round, it's completely different, and perhaps it was even, you know, initially designed. I know I'm probably missing some, because every time I touch my screen it always goes and takes me to the back. So let me try and get all of this loads. I do apologise. Mr. Baker's in the house. Gary Baker, well, there's a man who knows that. I know we're getting riggy tonight, but I was in the shed and came across the neutral glove from August last year. Is that, no, honestly, Stephen, that's fine for donkey's years. It's got sugar content, so it'll be fine. Where else? I'm not getting Steve Murphy. Hello. Like I say, we're getting riggy. It'll be all good, but I can't say. It's all gone horribly wrong. So anyway, so very shortly I will shout out Tins. Tin will be drawing the thing. So just Mr. Shaw, good to hear from you. I did leave a message for you the other day. You're obviously ignoring me. So don't forget, this will be drawn very shortly. So last shout out, the free raffle prize, you have to just send yes to the Pallatrax page. How would you go about making a source for LQ rig with a large hair? Does the board work? You just extend it. So going back to the board, who was that asking that question? I can't. Billy. Oh, hi, Billy. So if I go back to the board, and this is where, I'll tell you what, let me turn it around. I can't really do it like that. That's easy. So if you go back to the board, that's easier. So again, all of this is adaptable. So, you know, the hair loop is pretty standard. So if you want to say, you can just extend that, and you could pull your hair to as long as or short as you want. This is just a guideline. So if you want a longer hair or you want a bigger hook, there's not a problem. But ultimately it comes down to the size of your bait, doesn't it? And so if you look on this rig here, because I want to be fishing pretty tight, so my hair there is that length. Now if I was fishing a bigger bait, I would therefore have a longer hair. If I was fishing just a single 10 mil, I'd have a short hair or a bit of corn or something like that. But it's versatile that you can make it. The board is a guideline. It's a guideline for what I would say are the most consistent lengths. But obviously everybody has their, their different approach. So there we go. So hopefully that. Who's blanking in France? That's not Mick, is it? Where am I? Oh my lord, press the button again, it's all gone. Come on, Mick, we don't want you to blank. You did well last time. Get on those fish, move around. So, if you've not been there that long, look at all the fish coming out of the quay. Are you on the fish, Mick? Have you found the fish? That's always the thing. They will never come to you. They were like me and Sue the other day. I wanted to caught those fish. I hadn't dragged myself, my fat little body. What length for barbel pond? That's a great question, Kenny. In all truthfulness, I fish the same length. Because as I say, I'm looking at the fish, I'm looking at their biology, looking at how they feed. There's a lot of school of thoughts in barbel fishing to fish a really long length rig. Never got my head around that one. Mainly because I know some people have fished 6-8 foot length rigs, so it's flowing 6 foot, 8 foot down from your weight point. And then if a fish picks up and comes upstream, you're talking 12 to 16 foot of slack line when you actually hit into a bite. So, again, and I fish the method for barbel. Wherever I can fish the method, the method does one thing for me. It builds that bonfire of attractant. So 2 out between 10 anglers in 24 hours. Oh, come on, Mick. Fingers crossed, mate. It'll happen. But yeah, so I'm fishing short hook links again. I'm not worried about some of the things that the barbel, the more, I don't know what to say. There's different schools of thoughts, I suppose. But for me, it's about fish on the bank, and we've caught some amazing barbel on short hook links. But then again, if you were fishing next to me and you were catching on an 8 foot rig, I'll be straight over to it. But I always start off short and go from there. There you go, you see, Kenny. He's exactly saying the long rig is about trying to get it. It's always been the same story. It's always been, I want a long rig to try and get away from the lead. Well, we don't. We're fishing a stone, so we don't care. It doesn't come into, anything. We're not scared to fish next to a stone because it's just a stone. It's a natural stone. And obviously in barbel fishing, it's one of my gripes, and I will say it. The last six times the British record, when the Traveller was the British record. I mean, it's now dead, but last 6 times it was caught from Adam's Mill on the stone system. But whenever you saw it in like the Angler's Mail and things like that, the picture was always of a lead rig, and it really, really did my head in, because it was almost like, you guys trying to hide the truth here? Because the anglers on the Adams Mill would say we can't catch them if we're fishing man-made weights or feeders. As soon as we started using the stones, they all started catching all those big fish out of Adams Mill. I know it makes a difference. I know it's a leap of faith to most. People look at it and say it's bigger than lead. The fish will see it. But like I say, if you start studying the biology of fish, it's not about what we see as humans, about what they sense. And I can tell you what, most of the time they can't see it because it's dark or it's in murky conditions. But they have eyes and they do use them, don't get me wrong. But there's a load of other biological kind of senses like chemoreceptors and olfactory system. You start studying those with fish and you'll really realise why fish are so cute and why they don't get caught. And really frustrates me again when people come out, especially some of these influencers who say fish are stupid. Well, if they're that stupid, we'd be catching them all the time. They are masters in their own universe and we are just clumsy visitors at best. And so all we can do is set out traps. We can focus on food and variables of food sources, whether it's naturals or man-made, the grades of it, the presentation, putting it in the right place, all this together, which what I honestly think the stone system, I honestly know, not think the stone system gives us, and you catch lots of fish. So yeah, there you go, Kenny. Try a short hook link, steam link hook link. You'll be very, very surprised. Very surprised. Are you going to give a perch go in your lakes? They're there to go. I just want to grow them on for another year. I probably won't have a go for another year, to be fair. I'm just so busy, and I'm very lucky as well. Just up the road from me, I've got Upper Tamar, which has got amazing. There's another local water called Youlden that's got some amazing fish in it, as perch in it as well. But yeah, I'll have a little dangle at some stage. But I'm talking to a guy at the moment. He's making some lures, little perch lures, and he's going to make me some, and I'm going to give them a go in the lakes here. So yeah. I bet it was, honestly, Kenny, some of the things that I could talk to you about, I don't want to sound negative because I just love fishing, so I'm not going to spoil it, but some of the kind of underhand things that have happened to try and close Pallatrax down what we're doing is, they are what they are. And I can understand, the industry is probably very scared that this kind of attitude and these kind of products will push their products behind. Because again, if you put switch off tonight and say this bloke's arrogant, I can swear to you I hate arrogance, but I know I'm fishing at a very high level because I'm actually interested in the biology of the fish, and that gives me so much information. I don't believe a lot of these other companies are at that level, so we're fishing on a higher plane, if that makes sense, because we're acknowledging fish being the masters of the universe, and we're trying to trap them and trick them, whereas not the standard lead core, big lead, big lumps of jingly jangly stuff, and the attitude is we painted it green, the fish can't see it. I'm afraid factually that's incorrect. It's about what fish senses. So there you go. But I'm not bitter. It is what it is. So I do apologise I missed. Right, Tinny, where we going? I think I'm up to date. I apologise if I missed a few questions. It's getting to that time. So who has won the competition, the raffle competition? Colin Callum. Colin, you have, is that, or do I do it that way? There you go. I think it's that way. You can see it through it. So there you go. Colin Cannon, you have won that little goodie box. So if you just fire me a message, we'll pick that up with your address details and we'll get that in the post to you. Rich Shaw, 3 Leco, 8 Lecos, 2 UK PBs, a French PB. Yeah, well, like I say, we've been there, Rich. We together we've fished all over, and whether it's Poland or France, and when we've seen the system, our problem historically, is we've never been able to reach out to the wider world, so to speak, and that's all changed with social media, with the kind of people that have got involved with Pallatrax, and more literally daily. The team is well over 2,000 members and growing every day. It's just so exciting, so amazing, and after all these years, that suddenly we've been able to get through social media out a story, and we're not jamming it down anybody's throats. We're saying, look, these are the conclusions we've drawn, and these are all the fish we've caught. If you embrace it and you fish this system we're fishing, I'm not saying anybody could have done what Sue's done today, but in truth, if you fish the system and you put it in front of feeding fish, you will have increased your odds, because we're covering all of these different things, but focusing on one of the areas the industry really defocuses on from my day and what I learned from, the people before me, and I'm getting on with it now, is HNV, high nutritional value baits. So much bait out there has it's no nutritional value because there's no food source to it. So the fish are only therefore picking up out of curiosity, because they can't be picking it up out of food because there's no food there. So, and that's why I think baits blow. When people say baits blow, it's like, well, there's no food content, and a fish won't. Again, if you study the biology of fish, a fish isn't going to expend energy by eating something that's not food. So interesting stuff we can talk about going forward. But, by really kind of over the last 25 years, really focusing on not on profit, but on performance, you end up with a totally different mindset when you start studying the biology of fish. And I've been very fortunate, with having had the shackle shops and seeing that kind of things, having had the fisheries, got my brand new fishery down here now, and the 3 pools are set differently to really help me as well, develop more products that work consistently. But and especially around baits, there's always different options with baits. We should never ever, people ring me up and say, oh Pom, I want like 100 kilos of jungle for this season, and I'll be the first to say, don't buy that much of Pallatrax because it's so strong. It's like Fairy Up liquid to some cheap nasty brand. Not saying all bait's bad, by the way, far from it. There's some good bait companies out there, but there's some junk out there as well. Beware, be cautious. All baits should be now animal feed regulated. We're animal feed regulated, so I would always question the ingredients of baits. But once you get really into the biology of the fish and see how they tick and what they do and when they do it and why they do it, and then you start to kind of use that to be the backbones of your research of innovation, I think that's what's really helped me to move forward, So anyhow, folks, is there any questions? If I have missed questions, it's because I don't know what I'm doing on this thing. Jack, I don't think I entered this competition, but all right. Yeah, what it is, Jack, is when I do the live feeds, I always have a little mini raffle, and you have to just say if it's on the team, you send it direct to me on Messenger, Simon Pomeroy, or if it's on this page, on the main Pallatrax page, you just send it to the main Pallatrax page and just say yes, and then you get entered. So, like I say, Steam Link is really a fantastic rig. I go through about 20 kilos a season. If that, I give more away than I use. You never go fishing, Tim. You'll be down here soon, mate. We don't need to. You know, Pallatrax, like I say, I know it sounds strange, a bait manufacturer saying, don't buy lots of it, just buy a selection of it. Because on one day, multi-worm fish will outfish jungle. On another day, crave will outfish. So you've got those choices and those ways to manipulate with all different boosters and things like that. But you don't need a lot of it. And the reason I'm saying that is it's very difficult to put into kind of a quick sentence because it's much more complicated about how you keep fish grubbing around and keep them in the swim and things like that. But, you know, a fish, carp have a thing called a digestive tract. And I know I'm preaching to a lot of people who know this, so I do apologise in advance. But it's like a tube. And so they can't fit it like me. I can cram loads of stuff in my stomach, but a fish can't. So they'll come across something, they'll pick it up. If it's food, they'll keep it, and if it's not, they'll spit it out, or it's attached to a rig, they'll seek to spit it out and things like that. And basically, it goes back through phalangerals, which is these crushing plates, and it goes back into the digestive tract. Now, they can only take so much. So you'll see a lot of underwater stuff, like Galen, you know, from Canada, who does all this underwater fishing, filming for Pallatrax and his YouTube channel now. You'll see these fish come in, they'll pick up a bit, and then they'll disappear. And then that fish might come back again later, but it doesn't sit there just munching like we do. And that's when you realise, so that's one, we don't want to put a lot of bait out because we don't want to fill the fish up. And also then, if we put loads of bait out, mathematically, our odds are decreased dramatically. If you've got 100 baits or 200 baits, well, I know people that have chucked out kilos and kilos of boilies and then put a single boilie on top of it, expecting, the fish to hit that one bait. Well, if it's not food, it's very unlikely to. And if there's thousands of baits out in front of it, your odds are dramatically decreased, especially if it's HMV, because they're not going to be able to eat much of it. So there you go. There's Pom's thoughts for today. But anyway, I am going to shoot off because, to be quite honest, it's manic here, and I've got to go and do some work prepping for tomorrow. If you ever got any questions, you know where I am. Please think about if you're not team members, please join us. As I say, it's a troll-free group. We don't have idiots on there at all. It's just nice people talking about fishing, meeting each other, friendships are formed, and things like that. So it is something that is very close to my heart, and lots of the people behind the scenes who are supporting it and in front. So yeah, feel free to come and join us. Like I say, I'll be back on the team page next Sunday for my Sunday slot feed on there, and then the following week I'll be back here. So there we go. So you take care, folks. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. There was loads of people here tonight, which is great. I say, do look at that rig. It is very, very distinctive, very, very different, very effective, and I can promise you now, 1,000%, I'm not trying to flog you something, I'm just trying to help you catch more fish. So, on that, I'm out of here. You stay safe and have a great week, folks. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Good night.